go ahead and let Lisa take the floor. Hey, Lisa.
Hey, Jenna. Hey, everybody. Really excited to be here tonight sharing my story. This is the first time that I've ever shared my story, so I'm a newbie at this, so give me a little grace, but gonna go into my story. Trigger warning includes alcohol, opioids, pills, heroin, Suboxone, gabapentin, overdose. And yeah, my name's Lisa. I'm from Oregon, and I've got about 7.5 months Kratom free, Kratom 7.0H free. I'm gonna just briefly try to go hit all the main points. Been to treatment 3 times, been to detox about 4 or 5 times. Can't exactly remember, but starting out, I was born and raised in Oregon, still live here. I was born to a single mom. We were, pretty low income, and it was kind of like a weird relationship with my mom. I was kind of the adult in the relationship. My mom had a lot of mental health problems, a lot of depression, and substance abuse, alcoholism. And later on, she had a really bad pill addiction, opioid addiction. I grew up, kind of as the caretaker in the relationship, didn't want to follow down her path. So, and one of the main things in my childhood that really left a mark on me was a history of sexual abuse, by like multiple times, but the main one that really had an effect on me was a family member, and ended up being blamed for it. Like, everyone took the abuser's side, and that really hurt. That, I think, that later in life really fueled a lot of my addiction problems. But growing up as a teenager, I didn't want anything to do with drugs or alcohol. But the relationship at home was really rocky, and I was always like someone that would fight to make a better life for myself, but it just got to be too chaotic, unpredictable. And when I was 15 years old, I moved out and ended up getting a place with my boyfriend at the time. So pretty much from the age of 15 on, I did not live at home anymore. I was still in high school, was really into sports, and just was getting over feelings of low self-worth, low self-esteem, just stuff, childhood scars that I still carried with me. Definitely felt like a lot of shame, feelings of unworthiness, just had a really distorted view of myself because of what I had gone through. But fast forward to age of 18, I ended up meeting my now husband. We've been together for close to 25 years, almost 30 years, but been together a long time. He's the love of my life. We basically grew up together, but when I met him, he was a huge partier, really into drinking. At that point, I hadn't really drank before, hadn't done drugs. But I kind of just picked up and ran with the lifestyle that he had, and started drinking a lot to fit in, to hang out, because that's what he did all the time. And Definitely was not the normal drinker. I quickly escalated to binge drinking. That was basically how I drank every time I drank, was a binge drinker, would black out, wake up in the morning, hear all the stories of the shameful things that I had done the night before, be hungover, and then, the afternoon would come and I would feel better and do the whole cycle again. And this was like over and over and over. And by the time I was 20, I was an alcoholic, probably like a little bit before then, but yeah, but when I turned 21, it was like the last that usually people go out for their first drinking experience, but that was like farthest thing from my mind is going, I just wanted to quit drinking, but couldn't make it for more than a few days without drinking. And alcohol was a huge problem for me for about 5 years, and just desperately wanting to quit drinking, but it was just, my husband was a drinker, so I just didn't see a way out to quit. And then, I was so desperate to stop, but by that point, my mom had become really addicted to pain pills, like morphine, oxy, Roxy. She had this whole plethora of pain pills, and I think I was at her house one night and I wanted to drink, but I didn't want to drink, and so I decided to try her pills. And for the first time, it was like, like this euphoric, we all know that feeling of when you use opiates. And I didn't have to drink, but I still got that feeling of relief. And anxiety went away. I felt like I could breathe. And so I kind of started the like the metamorphosis or whatever, from drinking all the time to using pills. That was kind of like the switchover that I made, because I could still use something but not drink and deal with all the horrible consequences of drinking. And would take care of my mom because she had like a lot of health problems, take her to the doctor, made sure she had her pills because they were my pills too. She didn't know that I was taking her pills, but she had so many that I didn't feel like I was causing her pain by taking them. And tried to moderate my use with them, but that didn't work out. I was just like stuck in this trap of using more and more pills. And, I'd run out occasionally and then get sick and realized like this was a huge problem. It wasn't like alcohol where I could quit for a couple days. I had to constantly have enough pills and be like forward thinking to the next day. Am I going to have enough? And then this was like Christmas. This was almost about 18 years ago or so. Had gone to, I remember because we went to a Seahawks game the night before, came home, and it was on Christmas Day, and was going to go visit my mom and give her gift. Had my son with me, who was like 6 months old at the time, and I walked in and I found my mom. She had overdosed and had passed away, found her body. Horribly, horribly traumatic. I was in shock, and it was, that was horrible. But also in the back of my mind, I was thinking, how am I going to sustain my pill addiction now that she had passed? That's like horrific to even think that I was in that state of mind, but as an addict, that did cross my mind. And so went through that and had no more access to pills. So it started like the drug seeking behavior, where I came up with all these like ailments, whatever I could do to keep getting and using opiates, and but was buying tramadol online. I mean, just craziness. And eventually I couldn't access any more pills. And I remember I called up this counselor that I was seeing at the time, and because my husband and I were trying to quit everything. So we were seeing like this addiction counselor. And I remember I was at work crying. I just didn't know how to quit, and was thinking like I was going to go in and talk to her and she was going to walk me through this. And she's like, no, I think you're a little too far gone to just come in for a counseling appointment. I think you need to go to treatment. And, by this time I had a good job. I had, addiction was ruining my life, but I still was like, I got married, we had kids, I had a good job, life was still looked good from the outside, but I was still like dealing with this horrible substance use issue. And decided like, okay, I'm going to be able to manage this, get time off, go to treatment. And and I went for 30 days. Totally weird experience, had no recovery experience before. It was a whole new world, and did pretty good. It was a horrible like couple week experience because I just quit cold turkey off of them. But there was a lot of people there, and I was the only person there that was there for pills. Everyone else was there there was a few alcoholics, but everyone else was there for heroin. And in my mind, I was thinking like heroin users are like people on Skid Row, down and out. But I was like surprised how normal these people were that were there for heroin. And that was like one of my reservations that I had in my mind, like, God, if all these people are here for heroin, then it must be something pretty amazing. That addict thinking, and which is totally sick and twisted, but that's how we think, how I thought as an addict. So I went home, sober, felt amazing, was like the best I had felt in years. And came home and was blaming everything basically on my husband, in our relationship, and had this like skewed way of thinking that, he was to blame, which was not true. We ended up separating, and which was the worst mistake. I mean, they tell you in recovery to not make any huge decisions in the first year. And that is so true, because I completely regret that. We ended up getting divorced, but was still into recovery and went to NA. And that is where I ended up meeting or being introduced to heroin for the first time. And it's a long story. I'm not going to go into it completely, but ended up trying heroin. Confided in my husband about it, immediately went back to treatment, and got out of treatment, and then just went head first into heroin addiction. A lot of guilt and shame. My whole story brings a lot of guilt and shame to me, but I finished treatment and went back to heroin use, and that was my life for like the next year and a half. And just felt horrible because I was using heroin, and it was just like this cycle, and definitely just like gave up. Like, I can't believe this is where my life is at. I had like so many good things in my life, and this is not the turn I expected my life to take. And it was just ultimate, like, so like bottom of the barrel, like complete rock bottom. Ended up honestly being like homeless, living in my car, like driving on a logging road so I could park and have a place to stay for the night. And it was insanity. And I knew it was insane. And you know, luckily I never got arrested. That was like one of the things I thought was like a God shot, because I work in healthcare, and I knew that if I was ever to get a felony, that I would that would blow my shot at ever going back to healthcare. So sorry, tangent there, but was homeless, and I was just like, this is not me. And so I knew my health insurance was about ready to run out. And so in my head, I was like, the only way I'm going to be able to get off heroin is by using Suboxone. I mean, I just, there was no other way. So I got myself back into treatment. This was like the first time that I did it myself. Like every other time it was being pushed on me, like doing it for family, doing it. And I was like at rock bottom, like I need to make a major life change here, because heroin addiction is not where it's at. I can tell you that. But so I went to treatment again, got on Suboxone, and was on Suboxone for about a year. And this is like where Kratom comes into the story. Sorry, guys. This is like, I feel like, I hope I'm not boring you guys with my story. But so got out of treatment, was doing good, went into sober living, was reconciling with my husband, and was on a like Suboxone maintenance, you know, and I had abused Suboxone already in the past, and went into a sober living where they were doling it out to me, so I wasn't able to abuse it. Tried to get into an Oxford house, but they don't allow you to be on Suboxone, at least then at the time. So I found a different sober living that I could be at, and my husband and, you know, our family was like reunited, but I was living a couple hours away, so I was traveling to see them, and doing really good in recovery. I had, you know, was really keyed into doing whatever it took, because I never ever wanted to go back to that place of addiction. And was on Suboxone, but I wanted to go home so badly. But my husband was not going to let me come home until I was completely clean, no Suboxone, no anything. So it had been about a year. I was like at the end of my rope, like I am so done living away from my family, and decided to go off Suboxone cold turkey. And I did titrate down like a bit, but pretty quickly. And so I got down to not low enough, and ended up just going off of it cold turkey, wanted to go home. And I ended up relapsing. And so that is when it just, I got kicked out of my sober living. I got sent, you know, begged my husband to take me back in, because I had nowhere else to go. And, but trying to quit Suboxone also. And I was like, okay, it was a horrible, horrible experience, quitting Suboxone cold turkey. Well, anytime I've quit opiates, it's been a horrible experience. And we did some research online and came to find out that there's this thing called Kratom. And you know, I'm willing to try anything at this point. And go and find a smoke shop that had it in my town. And I used it probably on day 3 or so of quitting Suboxone, and I took it and immediately felt relief, and like, you know, like, okay, anxiety, this elephant on my chest is lifted. You know, I don't know what this stuff is exactly, but I can cope now. I can manage. And that was the start of my Kratom addiction. And definitely my husband did not know about me using Kratom at all. Started out with Kratom powder. This was quite a while ago, when Kratom wasn't really a big deal yet. And was taking, finally, like at my maintenance point with Kratom powder, I was taking about 70 to 90 grams per day. The place I bought it at sold it in ounces, which is kind of weird. But yeah, about 70 to 90 grams per day was what I was at. And I would, that I would go to the smoke shop every week or so at the beginning and buy enough, and didn't order it online because I didn't want like any surprise packages to come in the mail and my husband to find out. This was like, I think at the very beginning, I had told him that it was like some sort of green health tonic thing, but then he came to find out what it was from a friend of his, and then I started hiding it, and yeah, consistently was using it for about 5-ish years. I was using the powder every day, all the time. Tried to quit a couple times, but it was just like that compulsion to use. It was like it brought back all of those feelings of withdrawal, and it's just like, okay, I just can't deal with this right now. There never was a good time to quit using Kratom. Like I would make plans in my head that, okay, maybe on this long weekend, this 3-day weekend, I'll have time to be sick, or plan it out for like maybe a vacation or extended time off that I had from work. But that never worked out right, and it just like, it was like weeks turned into months and months turned into years of using it. And eventually I was using so much of it that, and the anxiety, it was just like, the shaking, and it finally led to having seizures from the Kratom powder. And this was about at like the 4-year mark or so. And I remember having my first, they were grand mal seizures, and my kids were nearby, and so much guilt and shame from that too. I mean, just like taking Kratom to excess to have a seizure. My kids were there to witness it. And it's like, once you start having seizures from Kratom, it's like they happen more often. It's like once you break that seizure threshold, it's like they start happening more frequently, and you get that aura feeling. And I could kind of feel them coming on and feeling like kind of wonky and not knowing what was going on. But then I'd always throw more Kratom at it, like thinking that was going to help me to feel normal. It was craziness. So I started having them more regularly. And if you've ever had a seizure, you wake up like not knowing what's going on, what your name is, what year it is. I mean, and you're down for like a week mentally after having one. And would wake up. One time I getting put into an ambulance, and fell flat on my face on a concrete sidewalk, bleeding, knocked my front 2 teeth out. I have a scar on my nose where I had busted my face open. And I still was just not quite there to quit Kratom. I mean, it was just insane. So finally, I admitted to my husband what was going on, that it was like Kratom use. I couldn't quit. I absolutely could not quit no matter what I did. So I finally decided to go to detox for Kratom. And this was like, gosh, probably like it was a while ago. And so I was the first person to ever call them about Kratom, to go there for Kratom. And they're like, what is Kratom? And it was just, and you feel like not validated at all, going to detox for this weird plant. But I definitely knew that I needed to be in there locked up, not having any access to Kratom. I could not like go 3 hours without using it. And I had to be put into a facility to get, to be locked up away from it, from my own, I had that compulsion was just so hard to get away from. And got the Vivitrol shot after that, and that really helped. I knew I needed to get the Vivitrol shot because I did not want the temptation of getting high, because that blocks you from getting that that high feeling. So did really well, and had like a 2-year stint of Kratom sobriety, and then I tore my ACL and ended up needing surgery, being told that I had to get off of I was taking naltrexone, the pill, and I had to be taken off of that in order to have my surgery. And I was given opiates, and so it was just like kind of game over from there. That ruined my 2-year stint of Kratom recovery. And sorry, I know we're getting a little bit close to being time, but sorry, let me think. Had the surgery, got back, relapsed, and was like about 5 more years. After I picked up using Kratom again, it was about 5 more years that I was stuck back on this Kratom cycle where I could not get off of it. My husband and I had separated finances because I also had a shopping addiction at one point. I mean, you name it, I was probably addicted to it at one point. But that was like to my detriment, because I could spend as much as I wanted to at the smoke shop undetected. And I did spend a lot of money. God, it makes me sick thinking about it. But so it was it's kind of hazy, but eventually I was introduced to 7-OH, and Kratom was bad enough. Kratom powder. I also started having seizures again from the Kratom powder, and then one day I went into the smoke shop and they had this new product, 7-OH, and he told me like, okay, it's 10 or 20 to 50 times more powerful than morphine. And I was like, yeah, right. Yeah. But gave me free samples, because that's what they do to get you hooked. Gave me free samples of it. And I walked out of there, still just using powder. But I tried it. It was okay. But then I tried it again and again, and then I finally took enough where I like really felt like that opiate feeling, and it definitely got its hooks in me pretty quick. 7-OH was a totally different beast than powder Kratom for me. But at the time I was like, okay, 7-OH, and they marketed it as like a way to save money, which was a total joke, because we all know like 7-OH is not a money saver. Went into so much debt spending money on 7-OH, but was taking it all the time, was using powder as well, because I couldn't afford to take as much 7-OH as I needed to take to feel okay. And then just finally delved deep into it and I remember going into the smoke shop like 3 days in a row, spending $120 each day and not feeling like I had enough at that amount. And I was like, this is not sustainable. Um, Something horrible is going to happen. My husband's definitely going to find out. I can't maintain that kind of addiction. And so that's when I definitely knew it was a problem. And it's like, I quit, like I came into these meetings about March, but like in January we went to Mexico. And for a kratom addict, when you hear like the prospect of going on a trip, especially like out of the country, you always think like that always like brings this fear and anxiety, like, oh my God, instead of like being excited and joyful about your upcoming trip, you're thinking like, how the fuck am I going to pull this off? So I went and actually bought a case of 7-OH to take with me. Also took powder, but spent an astronomical amount of money on it. Ended up running out because when you have more, you take more, and ended up having a seizure on our trip in Mexico. And it's like any good time, I would find a way to ruin it because of kratom. I mean, it was just, okay. But fast forward to enough is enough. I've had enough of 7-OH. I did some like Google search. Like I was desperate. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I got to get off of this. 7-OH had basically taken me to my knees. This was not kratom anymore. I was like, this is going to take me to a deep, dark place. This is going to take me back to heroin if I don't do something. And I searched and found the Kratom Sobriety podcast. And that is where I found like there was actually like a group, like an organized effort of kratom sobriety, because I hadn't found that before ever. And so I listened to some of the episodes and found that they had information about kratomquitters.com. And then, and this is like, I'm doing all this while I'm at work, and my mind is like because I knew like my family work, it was all about to come crashing down. And so I found the Kratom Quitters website, and I went on there and couldn't believe everything that was being offered on the website, all of the support, and went to a meeting and, listened for about the first week or so, got onto the Signal chat and was able to connect with people, and just being in the meetings and getting that connection and hearing people share like similar stories and experiences with kratom and 7-OH. And I was just like, I felt like I had hit the recovery jackpot, honestly. That there was these people that all wanted the same thing that I wanted. I wanted to get off of this. I wanted recovery. And I just decided I was going to put everything that I had into it. And I decided to go the taper route because I knew I had to continue to work, and it was still a secret I was keeping from my husband. I thought that I could just like magically get off of this stuff and he would never be the wiser, but he eventually found out that I was tapering on it, getting off of it. He's so grateful, so supportive now. And I I had a lot of shame and guilt because I have put him through so much in my previous addictions, but you know, he's really excited and really believes in me now that he can see all the hard work that I'm putting into my recovery. You know, I almost have 8 months, which blows my mind considering how I couldn't go 3 hours without taking Kratom, and it was all I thought about, and I was living life, but you know, like faking it, you know, pretending everything was okay, but definitely not okay. And yeah, I just have so much gratitude today for, you know, this community. It's been everything to me. And you know, as soon as I got 30 days, you know, I wanted to start hosting. That's been huge accountability, you know, a way to give back to help, you know, other people. It's a passion of mine. You know, I want to not only like be a leader in this community, I really want to let other people know that there is a way out, that you do not have to be addicted to Kratom. You can get off of this, and I plan on having long-term sobriety off all substances. Today I do have that, you know. I'm and I take a huge amount of pride in the fact that I'm completely substance free. I still use nicotine, but that's the next beast I'm going to battle. But yeah, just so much gratitude. I really appreciate you all listening to my story. I hope that at least one person will be able to get something out of this, and appreciate all of you guys. Love you very much. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, Lisa, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Your vulnerability, your honesty, your awareness, the way that you allowed us to kind of step into the harder parts of your story. You are so incredibly strong. And I think every person in this community right now benefited from hearing your story, myself included. I think it gives us permission to be vulnerable, to breathe, to relate to each other, to you, to feel seen, to remember why we're doing it so that we can get to our 8 months of sobriety. Congrats on that. So yeah, thank you for sharing and being so vulnerable. I think we have 20 minutes left till the top of the hour. So we're going to open up the space. And if anything she shared resonated with you, brought something up for you, you just need a moment to speak your own truth, we're going to go ahead and give you some space. Thank you, Lisa. We love you.